Hey, thanks for watching Liberty Awakened, where we give you the other side of the story that you're not going to get from the mainstream media. And we have a pretty big story that broke today that is nowhere to be found, shockingly, on CNN's website, MSNBC's website, other similar news sources like that. And so we're gonna tell you about this little piece of news, because you might remember that whole impeachment thing, where Trump made this phone call to the Ukrainian president and was like, "Hey, congratulations for getting elected." Sorry, I don't know if my Trump impression's any good or not, but I'm gonna do the best I can. And by the way, we'd really like you to look into this whole corruption thing. I think the CrowdStrike server might be located somewhere in your country, and we need to get to the bottom of that. And by the way, I think Joe Biden, he got your prosecutor fired. And anyway, I'm gonna stop doing the Trump impression because I need to actually say what happened here. So Trump asked the Ukrainian president to look into all the corruption that was going on in his country in connection with the 2016 election, which really should not be a problem at all. The left kind of blew this whole thing up into, well, he's specifically targeting a political opponent, and at that time it was, I certainly didn't think Joe Biden was going to be the nominee for the Democrat Party. It looked like Bernie Sanders was actually going to be the nominee, but be that as it may, the whole story was, it was a quid pro quo, and Trump, was going to withhold something from Ukraine and all this stuff. Well, it turns out that according to the Senate's investigation that they've been doing the past several months, that first, Trump was absolutely right that Joe Biden was involved in corruption in Ukraine. And the real quid pro quo was Joe Biden withholding, telling the Ukrainians that the Obama administration was going to withhold like $1 billion worth of aid if the Ukrainian government didn't fire a prosecutor that was looking into his son's illicit business dealings in Ukraine. And guess what? That's absolutely, unequivocally what happened. And not only that, but this report that came out today reveals that not only was Hunter Biden getting paid $50,000 a year. So I realized after posting this today that I said Hunter Biden was making $50,000 a year when he was actually making $50,000 a month. So a little bit of difference. Making videos is hard, as it turns out. So just want to issue that correction. Sorry, it was late last night. For sitting on the board of this Ukrainian gas company called Burisma, which, by the way, the problem with that is Hunter Biden had no previous experience in the oil and gas industry, and certainly not enough to merit $50,000 a year. Again, $50,000 a month. Come on. I mean, what was the value he was adding to the company that he needed to sit on the board and get paid $50,000 a year, other than the fact that his daddy was the vice president of the United States and was in charge of Ukrainian foreign policy? So, according to this report, I'm just going to read you a little bit. Well, actually, first, I'm going to play you a clip from Joe Biden admitting that this is exactly what happened. And he didn't just admit it, he was bragging about it. And I'm just going to let you watch this video. I'll be right back.
Not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, what, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Okay, so there you have Joe Biden not just admitting that he engaged in an actual quid pro quo, where Trump did not. You might remember that after all those accusations came out, we had, the Mueller report was going on, and they looked into all of this. They left no stone unturned, and we finally get to impeachment, and there was no actual crime committed. The whole I don't remember how many pages it was, but it was a long report. The Mueller report, I think it was hundreds of pages, found no evidence that Trump committed any crime whatsoever. So, sorry, I was editing this and I realized I kind of misspoke about the Russia collusion, Mueller impeachment, all of that. To be clear, I do know the Mueller report, the Mueller investigation was about the Russia collusion allegations, which turned out to be completely unfounded. There was no evidence. And then the impeachment was kind of about everything, including the Ukraine stuff. That was the Ukraine thing was what really led up to the impeachment. But anyway, I just wanted to make that clear. There was no actual evidence of any wrongdoing on Trump's part that was brought to light. So just wanted to insert that little. Here's the real crime. Well, first, you saw Biden admitted to an actual quid pro quo, but this report, I'm just going to read it. This is an article from posted today on National Review Online. It's by Jack Crow, and it says the Senate Republicans released a report Wednesday detailing the extensive business dealings that Hunter Biden pursued with politically connected foreign nationals while his father, Joe Biden, was serving as vice president. The 87-page interim report is the product of a months-long probe in which members of the Senate Homeland Security and Finance Committees and their staff reviewed more than 45,000 pages of Obama administration records and interviewed 8 witnesses, many of whom are current or former U.S. officials. And what did they find? They found that the Treasury records acquired by the chairman of the committee show potential criminal activity related to transactions among and between Hunter Biden, his family, and his associates with Ukrainian, Russian, Kazakh, and Chinese nationals, the report reads. In particular, these documents show that Hunter Biden received millions of dollars from foreign sources as a result of business relationships that he built during the period when his father was president of the United States and after. Hunter Biden served on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma Holdings while his father was leading the Obama administration's efforts in Ukraine is well established. But the $50,000 per month board seat was just one component of the younger Biden's foreign ventures during the Obama years. According to the Treasury Department records obtained by the committee, he also pursued similar business dealings with politically connected Russian, Chinese, and Kazakh nationals. In the course of his globe-trotting business career, Hunter Biden racked up more than $4 million in questionable financial transactions with well-connected foreigners. He partnered with Chinese businessmen connected to the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army, and he took cash from the wife of the corrupt former mayor of Moscow, and he sent funds to Ukrainian and Russian nationals living in the U.S. They're linked to, wait for it, what appears to be an Eastern European prostitution or human trafficking ring, according to the report. So let me just stop right here. And let's just be honest. If this was one of President Trump's kids, that would be the end of Trump. That would be the end of his campaign. He would have to quit everything today because, he's using it. He would be using his office to help his kids make millions of dollars, which obviously is going to stay in the family. So, just want to make a little note of that, just, the double standard. And by the way, this is not being reported at all. You look on, I went to CNN's website. Guess what the top article is? Before I go on this video, I just want to note this will be like the stopping point, I think, for the Instagram version, because I guess you can only upload a video 10 minutes in length. I don't know. If anybody knows anything about that, let me know, because I'm still trying to figure out this whole internet thing. But So you go to CNN's website, there's not even a peep about this story, not even a mention. I mean, you would think something like that deserves at least a mention somewhere. But, at the top you got the lead story, 2 Louisville officers shot as protests continue past curfew. Okay, yeah, that's a big story. And then the second biggest story, Trump refuses to commit to a peaceful transition of power after Election Day. Right, I'm sure. And we go into the article, and they have a quote from him. It says, "Well, we're gonna have to see what happens." Trump said when asked whether. Oh crap! There's a video playing. Hold on. How do I stop this? There we go. Okay, so, well, we're going to have to see what happens, Trump said when asked whether he'd commit to a peaceful transition, one of the cornerstones of American democracy. I am sure that's exactly the way the question was asked. And this is the problem with these articles. You get this really inflammatory headline, and then you have no idea how the conversation actually went. He said, well, we're going to have to see what happens. What was the exact question asked? And they're going to take that one line and say that, Trump refuses to commit to a peaceful transition of power. Well, you read on here, and he starts talking about the mail-in voter thing, which is a problem. It says get rid of the ballots, and you'll have there won't be a transfer. Frankly, there'll be a continuation. He added, saying the ballots are out of control. And he's absolutely right about this. I mean, there are articles even from left-wing sources I've seen out there that are trashing Trump in the article, but then admitting that this whole mail-in voting thing is pretty effed up. You're gonna have all the deadlines are all over the place, and the post office is gonna have trouble meeting a lot of the state law requirements for the election, and it's a freaking nightmare. And there's all these reports of ballots being lost and not counted, and I mean, the media can deny this all day long. The evidence is out there. If you just, again, use DuckDuckGo, go out and look for, just DuckDuckGo, mail-in voter fraud, mail-in ballot chaos, whatever. And there are tons of stuff with examples and evidence will come up. So, and what's going to happen is that you're going to have this, even, who's going to be able to trust the election under these circumstances? And it was Hillary Clinton and other Democrats that have told Biden, you shouldn't concede the election, because we don't even if Trump wins in a landslide, because we're just going to have to see what happens, basically, which is exactly what Trump said. And they're the ones telling Biden you can't concede the election. So I mean, how is that any different from anything Trump is saying? I mean, that's just. And by the way, you got the media and Democrats going out there saying, well, the only way there's going to be peace is if Biden wins in a landslide. Otherwise, it's going to be chaos and violence in the streets, and which is basically saying it's basically blackmail. Vote for Biden if you don't want to die. If you don't want your house to be burned down and your city to be looted and burned. I mean, this is where our politics are right now. I mean, look at what happened with the Supreme Court nomination situation. The Democrat, I mean, that's a whole other story. I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit trail, but first, the Supreme Court has become way more important than it should be. It was never supposed to be what it is now, which is essentially a legislative body that's creating new law from the bench. I mean, just look at the Roe v. Wade case. I mean, where in the Constitution does it say there's a right to abortion? The word's literally not in there. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg did tell us before she died that Roe v. Wade was a horribly reasoned opinion. I mean, my law school professor was about as left wing as it goes as far as constitutional law, and even he admitted it was a terrible opinion, because there's no right to abortion in the Constitution. I mean, read it from cover to cover. It's ridiculous. They completely made it up. It should be up to the states, but that's where we are. We have a Supreme Court that makes law instead of interpreting the law. And that's why the Democrats are freaking out about this, because they don't want to lose their ability to make law from the bench. And so they're threatening violence and riots and all this stuff if the Republicans confirm, which is their constitutional prerogative to do, confirm a Supreme Court justice. That's what the Constitution says. And yeah, the Republicans last time around, they're a bunch of cowards when they refused to confirm Obama's nominee, Merrick Garland. They should have just said, you know what, we're in control and we don't want Merrick Garland, so we're not going to vote on him. But instead they were like, well, we don't want to, it's, there's about to be an election and we got to see what the people decide. That is such bull. I mean, I was not a fan of it at the time. I was like, look, Republicans, just say what you really think, and you just don't want to confirm Merrick Garland. And, you have the right to do that, so just say it. But instead they're just terrified of the media, and they want to make an excuse, and it's all political. It's just stupid. So anyway, enough of that. Where was I? But yeah, the point is, this is the big news story. It's not the biggest news story on CNN is not Senate investigation turns up all this corruption that the Biden administration knew about, by the way, and Joe Biden himself and John Kerry knew about it, did nothing about it, and which I'll get to. And it's not even a story. So that's all kinds of messed up. So just to kind of conclude here, because I've been going on for a while, I don't want this to be too crazy long. With you listening to me ramble, I can try to do some more of my terrible Trump impression if you like. But let's see. The point, what I wanted to end with is that Joe Biden and John Kerry, the Secretary of State, both knew about this, and they lied about it. They said, Joe Biden said, I never had a conversation with Hunter about his dealings in Ukraine. Oh, really? Really? You expect us to believe that he's your son? You're in charge of U.S. foreign relations in Ukraine, and your son is getting paid $50,000 a month by a Ukrainian gas company, and you never talked to him about it. You knew nothing about it, I'm sure. And so to kind of put the nail in the coffin on that lie, this article reports from the Senate report. It says, let's see. It was Hunter's work for Burisma in Ukraine that caught the attention of Obama administration State Department officials who said the role created counterintelligence and extortion concerns. Acting Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy, so he's a diplomat in Ukraine, George Kent, warned Vice President Joe Biden's office in early 2015. So Joe Biden's office was warned in 2015 that Hunter's work for Burisma undermined the administration's anti-corruption efforts in the country, which is what Joe Biden was presumably supposed to be addressing, since the gas company's owner, Mykola Zlochevsky, who Kent described as an odious oligarch in his testimony, is famously corrupt. And says, furthermore, the presence of Hunter Biden on the Burisma board was very awkward for all U.S. officials pursuing an anti-corruption agenda in Ukraine. Kent wrote this in an email to his colleagues in 2016, and Kent told Joe Biden's staff that someone needed to talk to Hunter Biden and he should step down from the board of Burisma, according to the report. But it doesn't appear Kent's request was carried out, since Hunter remained on the board throughout the rest of Obama's term. So tons of people in the Obama administration knew about this and knew it was a conflict of interest, knew it was a problem, and nobody did anything about it. And let's see. So U.S. Special Envoy and Coordinator for the International Energy Affairs, Amos Hochstein, also raised concerns about Hunter's work for Biden with the vice president directly. But his complaints went unaddressed, according to the report. Shocking. Could it be because Joe Biden was okay with Hunter getting paid $50,000 a year and making $4 million peddling his dad's influence? Okay, it says... Okay, the investigation has illustrated the extent to which officials within the Obama administration ignored the glaring warning signs when the vice president's son joined the board of a company owned by a corrupt Ukrainian oligarch. While concerns over Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine didn't prompt any decisive action from the administration, they did reach the desk of Secretary of State John Kerry. which contradicted his later claim that he was never aware that Hunter served on the bereavement board. Never aware, didn't know anything about it. Same guy that ran for president against Bush in what year was that? 2004, I think. The day after Hunter joined the bereavement board in May 2014, Kerry's stepson, Christopher Heinz, who is a business partner of Hunter's, emailed his father to inform him of Hunter's appointment to the board and to distance himself from the decision. Kerry's staff followed up with a briefing on the press inquiries prompted by Hunter's board seat, according to their testimony before the committees. Now, this is a long article, so I'm just going to skip to the chase here. Just going to finish with kind of a, let's see, where did it go? Just a blurb from the report. So the report itself states the records acquired by the committee, which they reviewed, as part of their investigation, show that Hunter Biden and his family were involved in a vast financial network that connected them to the foreign nationals and foreign governments across the globe. Hunter Biden formed significant and consistent financial relationships with the corrupt oligarch Mykola Zlochevsky, we already mentioned that, during their time working for Burisma, and their firm made millions of dollars from that association while Joe Biden was president and the public face of the Obama administration's Ukraine policy. And then Rosemont Seneca Thornton, which was an investment firm co-founded by Hunter Biden, received $3.5 million in a wire transfer from Elena Baturina, who allegedly received illegal construction contracts from her husband, the former mayor of Moscow. So what was going on here was this lady, she started this, construction company while her husband was mayor, and then her husband forced all these construction gave all these city contracts to her construction companies. So she became one of the richest people in Russia. She was an instant billionaire. Which is what happens. That's how you make money in politics, which is a problem. And that's what the Biden family has done here. Says, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So, yeah, we already read that. Anyway, it's a freaking mess, and it's not even being reported. And the point is, if this were Trump, this is all we would hear about 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it would be, it's just a double standard. Biden's not even, the news media won't even ask Biden about this on his campaign trail. His campaign trail being his basement in Pennsylvania, wherever the heck he is. So I just had to point this story out because it's flying under the radar, and it's actually a pretty huge story, and it proves that Trump was right about what was going on with Biden, and he was ridiculed for it at the time, which I will also say before I sign off here, this is a pattern that repeats itself a lot, where Trump says something that's actually true, and the media just freak out and crucify him for it. He doesn't get everything right all the time. Obviously, Trump has said a lot of things that turned out not to be true, but it's almost like the stronger a reaction to what Trump said, the truer it is. So remember if you were paying attention to politics, which probably not that many people do as much as I do, but back in, I think it was summer of 2017, I remember Donald Trump came out and said, Obama's been spying on my campaign, during the election season and during my transition. He's sick, and even when I heard that, I was like, oh God, Trump. He says a lot of things, but he was brutalized as a conspiracy theorist, and he's crazy, he's unstable, he needs to have his he needs to be declared incompetent under the 25th Amendment and all this stuff. Well, it turns out Trump was exactly correct about that, because if you didn't know, the Obama administration, so Obama's FBI, they went and got these things called FISA warrants, which dates back to the Patriot Act, the Bush administration. I was not really a fan of the Patriot Act, to be honest with you, because it basically empowers the federal government to spy on us, which I just do not like that. And they went to a FISA court, and they gave the FISA judge this what's commonly referred to as the Golden Showers report, which was this report of Trump's dealings in Russia and like going over there and like, I mean, I'm not going to tell you why it's called the Golden Showers Report. You can probably imagine, but you know, it had some pretty nasty stuff in it. Well, it turns out that entire report was bought and paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign for president, and they used that. Not a shred of it was true. Nothing could be corroborated, and they gave that to the FISA judge to obtain a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. And they also, it's kind of a long story, but they gave them Carter Page, which is a guy, or George Papadopoulos, which is a guy they pretty much entrapped, fed him false information to try to, sorry, it's a long, complicated story, but Trump turned out to be right. That's the point. Okay. I don't want to ramble too much. Anyway, this would take me too long to unpack all that, but I mean, it's like, he was right about that. He was right about this, and he's not, you know, he's always labeled a conspiracy theorist. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I'm just going to sign off. But just wanted to bring y'all's attention to this little story because I think it deserves some attention, and I think hopefully Fox News will ask Biden about this at the debate on Tuesday, which if you didn't know, there's debate on this Tuesday, September 29th, so tune in, and, you know, we can see how senile Joe Biden really is when he is not given a teleprompter to go off of. Which, by the way, did you hear about this? That they caught him. There's a video. Maybe I'll end with. I'm going to end with this video. Is probably what I'm going to do. Where Joe Biden was, when he's doing an interview, he's using a teleprompter. Like, who does that? It's an interview. You ask a question and you get an answer based on what the person thinks. You don't just like script this whole conversation. So it wasn't an actual interview. It was just like campaign propaganda, basically. So I'm going to end with that video. But thanks for watching. And I was going to say, hopefully Fox News will ask Biden about this at the debates on Tuesday. But there's been some weird stuff going on at Fox News. I don't want to talk about that. But I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. So thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please follow us on social media. You know, all the social media platforms. We're Liberty Awakened, and get on Parler. We're on Parler. It's awesome. It's uncensored. It's bias free. No, you know, biased algorithms and stuff like that. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel where we post all these videos. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all soon.